I
Wait,
think
who's
you're
the
right, man.
Townsend? Pete Townsend is of the Who.
Come on, mate. Take two.
we're- T-Bone, I got a press release a couple days ago. I know you received it too, and it said WSL announces return to Pipeline for championship. The new 2026 season was announced. I want you to respond in emojis. Was it a not impressed emoji, a smiley emoji, or straight fire emoji?
Mate, definitely 3 fires, 3 double sharkers, 3 hands in the air. No, stoked. Great news.
Yeah, I think so too. I really like the schedule, and it looks a lot like this. There are 12 events, and we're going to break it all down. I want to start at the very beginning. In the press release, they made this big push that they were listening to us, and that guy down in the bottom of the screen there, Ryan Crosby, I got to give the guy a lot of credit, T-Bone. I went to find that picture, and I had to do a Google search to get one of 3 photos of Ryan Crosby. Do you know how many photos there are of Eric Logan? There's hundreds to choose from. But Ryan Crosby, dude, he's on the DL, and I love that about him.
Yeah. Hey, just a quick one. I think we owe a quick apology to Ryan Crosby. Remember last year we asked if Ryan Crosby was the next ELO 2.0? We cannot associate ELO with Ryan Crosby. He is Ryan Crosby 1.0, doing a great job since he's been on seat by far.
Yeah, I got to give him a lot of credit. He's listening to us, and they mentioned this in the press release that they took not only the surfers' input, but they took our input as fans. I think they may be doing some kind of focus group is what I'm trying to say. I think they've done focus groups and things like that. So the other thing that they talked about was that this is the 50th season of pro surfing. And
Wow.
in 1976, it started, and that right there, T-Bone, is your first champion. Can you name him?
I can. I'm probably cheating a little bit, but Peter Townend.
That is correct. And that's what surfing looked like in 1976. Here's what it looks like in 2026 with your potential world champion for 2026, Ethan Ewing. I think it's pretty cool that we've come back to Pipeline. It didn't take 50 years, but it did take, how many years were we away? 4 or 5 years. And
Yep.
I think that was the number one thing, T-Bone, that I heard in the comments whenever we do a show. Bring the final, and not even the final, the finale back to Pipeline.
Hallelujah. Hey, brother, just a quick one. You said it marks 50 years of professional surfing. That's when the goat was born. So can we say the goat actually was born when professional surfing started? So there you go. Fancy that.
Was he the catalyst? I know how much you love the goat. I think he might have been the catalyst.
He was the sperm in the catalyst, yes.
I think that what we want to do is start at the very beginning. T-Bone, tell us what's going on in this slide.
So it looks like nothing's going to change, mate, apart from a shitty little wave at Huntington. I know you're not a fan, but
I'm not a fan.
I guess the requalification as we know it through the 3-tier system has not changed. I'm sure there's a few questions that we do have, but fundamentally, you go through your local series, your qualifying series, then up to the Challenger Series, which is kicking off in Newcastle in a few months, but that's good.
Yes. Yeah, stoked about that, and I think the events are the only complaint that we would have. We've said that a lot in our show, that we want to see the Challenger Series actually challenge CT surfers at the level of their ability to make the CT. But let's move on, because we want to stay with some good news here, that this new tour has 12 events, T-Bone. It goes from April to December. And my takeaway from looking at that is that we're going to have a big gap from the end of this year's Fiji finals in September 4th all the way through to April, and there's no dates announced yet. But T-Bone, what are you going to do for the 7 months that the tour is off?
Probably take up tennis or something like that.
And I like tennis.
Yeah, mate. I didn't really think about that. That's a long time off, but maybe maybe there's obviously a lot of work for the WSL to set up this new format, new season. It's maybe they probably need it.
Yeah, and I think the good news of that is I think we'll see a lot of the surfers, putting out edits, taking boat trips, and that kind of thing, because the sponsors are going to want them to work. The other thing that I look at those 12 events and I think that is a lot of money paying the surfers, and we have more women on the tour, but
100%.
I think it's a busy tour, just like now, T-Bone. And as we record this, we're in the middle of the Aussie Treble, which is 3 back-to-back Aussie events. It's been busy, dude. It's just been busy for us to plan and schedule shows. Imagine what it's like to be a CT surfer traveling around. It must be insanity.
Definitely. I was sort of looking at the order of the events geographically for the surfers. You got Australia, then South America.
Let's break that down in 1 second. I want to break that down right here on this next slide. I just want to say that this looks like a lot of money to me, to the WSL, which we've talked about this before. There's a potential for a subscription model, which I think I could see Ryan Crosby kicking off, and I've been for it if they eliminate all commercials and charge a nominal fee, something that's not super expensive, to ease us into a paid subscription model. I know a lot of you hate that idea, but somebody's got to pay for this. And God, with these events, T-Bone, I'm interested. I'm interested to hear what they have to say about it. Sorry to cut you off, dude. Let's talk about these events in 2 parts. We have a regular season and we have a postseason, and this is the regular season. I'm going to read them off for those in the podcast and your reaction. First, we start in Bells, then Margaret River, Snapper Rocks, Punaroka, Saquarema, Jeffreys Bay, Teopu, Cloudbreak, and Trestles. Interesting positioning of where these events are located. Your initial takes there, T-Bone.
5 right-handers. I got to love that, being a natural footer. 2
5
lefts.
right-handers.
Yeah, 5 right-handers, 2 lefts, 3 peaks. So, hey, Jeffreys, Chopes, Fiji, hey, that's the mecca, right? It's just stoked. What a schedule, those 3 waves. I mean, you'd want to join the tour just for that, to surf those waves by yourself.
Yeah, and this is kicked to April, which puts these events in more of a prime time season to me. This will put Margaret's in about the time it is now, and then it'll put El Salvador later. Even though we scored in April this year, it'll put El Salvador further into summer for more south swells. And then, Jeffreys in that July, August range, as well as Teopu and Cloudbreak is a great window. And then it looks like lower trestles would be more towards September, October, which is outstanding. So there are no dates. They have not been announced. This is going to be an ongoing thing, but I like the way that looks as far as the seasons and the waves, the ability to score.
Yeah. I mean, Bells is going to happen around Easter time. Margaret River, probably end of April, start of May. And then Snapper, interesting time, Snapper. I think they've had really good conditions in the past. And then I guess from Snapper on the east coast of Australia, straight over to El Salvador.
Yeah. And they're just waiting for the sand to fill in. They're giving Snapper a chance to fill in for next year. Let's move on and talk about the postseason. Oh, actually, before we do, there is a streamlined format that removes non-elimination rounds. So, T-Bone, this is interesting to me. I love this idea of putting less emphasis on those eliminations round. And what it does now is it eliminates 2 men surfers, and there's a lot of heats to run just to do that. I think this streamlined format will give us more of an opportunity to score waves. I don't know what your thoughts are on that streamlined format. I had one other thought about the brackets, but what's your thought on that, T-Bone?
Mate, I reckon it's great. I mean, think about it from a fantasy picks perspective. We don't have to wait until the elimination rounds are over. I said to you this offline. It's sort of now like a tennis tour format. You essentially can get knocked out round 1, right? And then you just move on. It's much better. And I guess potentially you can optimize the conditions. It's just less stress for the organizers. And hey, let's face it, it's a nothing round, right? What is it? Like, it's a nothing round. So I reckon it's a
really
good move.
is. The surfers that lose in the first round are not going to like this very much, but I think it adds some pressure and excitement to the tour. I'm all for it. I want to see what happens. And what I really want to see is how they're going to break down the brackets. And these numbers that they're using, 36 and 24, they don't fit really well into a bracket structure. They're going to have to do some kind of lower seed wild card qualification to get into that round of 32. The magic numbers are those numbers that are divisible to make equal heats go down to a quarter semis and a final. And those numbers, that 36 and 24, are odd numbers to use for that. So I'm curious to see how they make these brackets. I did a deep dive into brackets last night. I nerded out, and it's going to be weird. I'm curious as how they're going to do it. And you can't really do it with 3 surfer heats and then break it down. It's just complicated. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they sort that out. Oh, by the way, and in the beginning regular season, T-Bone, it's the best 7 of 9 results. So surfers could potentially, like Ryan Callanan got injured for 2 events, have only those 7 scored, and other surfers could take advantage of that and, drop 1 or 2, events where they got eliminated in that first round. I think that's a fair way to do that. I really like that. And they have that set up now, but I think the way they're doing this makes a lot of sense. Moving on, now we get to the postseason, T-Bone. And I want to really hear what you think about these 3 events. And again, it goes down to 24 men and 16 women. The cut is gone, but there's still the no-cut cut. You're going to lose 12 surfers from the men, and you're going to lose 8 surfers from the women when it gets to the postseason. So there is a cut, and it's based on rankings of those 7 heats, not heats. It's based on those 7 events, your best 7 events. I think it's a fair way to do it, but there's some incentive in there. Tell me about those 3 events, T-Bone. What do you think about Surf Abu Dhabi, Peniche, and the Pipe Masters? Well, we'll save the Pipe Masters. What do you think about those 2 events leading up in the postseason?
Oh, I mean, it's interesting, from the pool to pipe. It's such a contrast of locations. I mean, the WSL are still rewarding consistency. I like the idea. I like, giving surfers that have done well during the regular season the opportunity to surf, the last 2 events. I mean, they've got to have somewhere in Europe. I haven't really thought too much about those 2 locations. I think the surfers enjoyed Abu Dhabi for what it was. I think as far as wave pools, you'd have to say it's probably the best one in the world. Peniche, what are we talking? November potentially. So hopefully that'll be a better. I just think Peniche, we need a year of really good waves.
Well, I want to jump in on Peniche real quickly. You are correct. This will be in October, late October, early November, and everyone I've talked to in Portugal, I've always been there in the spring, and they say that the fall is so much better. It's more predictable. It's not as windy. Even the weather's nicer. And if you remember the last 2 times we were in Portugal, I mean, it was crazy onshore, storms battering the coastline sort of situation. I think we'll get better waves at that time of the year in Portugal. And I love the place. But when I look at those 2 waves, actually those 3 waves in the postseason, all of them have one thing in common, and that's a peak. And not so much Surf Abu Dhabi, but you have the opportunity to get a left and a right on those waves. And I think that's a fair way to do it. Look, there's a lot of people who don't like the wave pool. I'm still going to always be mixed. But this wave pool was at least somewhat entertaining. And I like Peniche and I can't wait to go there. T-Bone, you're going to meet me in Peniche this time, and we're going to have a damn good time.
Love to.
So that's leading in. It's 24 men, 16 women go to the postseason, and then we get to the pipeline finale. Now, it's not a pipe finals, it's a finale, which means the winner is going to be based on rankings points. And that's number 5, which we'll come back to. I'm going to run through this real quickly, T-Bone, and tell you that the Vans Pipe Masters, that's kind of been up in the air, like, is Stab doing it? Is Vans doing it? It's announced at the last second. It looks like it's back associated with the WSL. They've made some kind of agreement, and I think that's good news. Vans in the pipeline finale, I'm thinking will be in early December, as it has been in the past. And my only concern with that is sometimes the North Shore doesn't start going until January. That would be my only concern. But there are other years like this year where it was pumping in December.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Hey, don't you think like the postseason surfers that didn't make it, I'd say they'd be going straight to Hawaii, training for that last event. And I do like the idea of them all coming back. So it gives those lower ranked surfers an opportunity to potentially climb out of being relegated back down to the Challenger. So that all-in last event, it's good for everyone, right? Because everyone's got an opportunity to increase their rankings if you're in the bottom.
I think you're right. I think you're onto something there, is that it gives them a chance for the rankings. I think they might. I don't know how the CS is going to dovetail into that yet, but I think one of the things it does is it gives somebody like a Baron Mamiya an opportunity to, let's say he doesn't make that cut, he probably will, that cut, he would be able to go back and surf in the Pipe Masters and win a Pipe Masters. So somebody that is more of a pipe specialist type person could win that coveted trophy and score some points. The only thing for me is like bringing all the surfers back sort of reminds me of like a Mr. Beast challenge video where you're like, you like beat Elo during the season, or Elo beat you during the season, and you get to go back and jam him in the quarters and pay him back, which is pretty brutal. But I think it's going to have heaps of storylines. It's definitely
right.
like reality TV type of shit going on right there. And
mate, there's a sorry, go ahead.
No,
Dave. Sorry,
please, dude. I'm talking way too much. Take it away. Please jump in.
I like how they've subtly changed it. You know, okay, there's still some points on the line. I love the idea of 1.5 points at pipe. All surfers coming back to pipeline. I love that idea. And, you know, consistency is getting rewarded. And I'm actually quite happy to see it return back to the traditional format that, you know, we've seen in the last 45 years and crown the world champ at pipeline. I mean, how good is that? I mean,
yes. Yeah.
And still, it's always relatively tight leaning into pipe. You never know, you know, with that extra points, it still have that exciting aspect to it, no doubt.
Yeah, I think I totally agree, and I think that all of us fans and us on this show have pushed for. We want a finale on the North Shore of Oahu, the Mecca, the greatest show on earth, to decide the world title and the championship. And I think that's the right thing to do. And you mentioned it there, T-Bone, that it's worth 1.5 more points. So this event could decide a champion with more points, especially if two come into that postseason neck and neck after Abu Dhabi and Portugal. They could easily pass somebody with those 1.5 more points. And I love that it's a winner based on points. And I said this in another show, like, all right, right now, package up 2 WSL championship trophies, send them to Carissa, or even better, like present them to her at Pipeline this year and apologize and say, here's your trophies. We should have always done this on points. The finals was silly. And we've learned from our mistakes. But, God, I mean, how can you not get excited about all this, T-Bone?
Oh, mate, it's surfers. I mean, this is the best for the surfers. The athletes that are doing this for a living, trying to make a living, it's better for them. It's better for the sport. It's better for the fans. We understand it. It's probably a lot easier to follow. And listen, if all the surfers are saying, positive things,
I think they've got to be
it's a no-brainer.
I think they've got to be excited about it. I can't imagine the board meetings that went down to figure all this out. And I will say, I actually think the Pipeline part of it is a little bit confusing. I think for the average punter outside of or just on the bubble of surfing, there's a lot to keep up with. Those of us who are nerds are into it. I think we follow this logic. But I still applaud the effort. I think it took a lot of meetings to break it down. But ultimately, you're right. The surfers are gonna love this. Unless you're at the bottom of the heap, you're gonna hate it. But that's fair enough. Any other thoughts? We're gonna move on to the last slide here.
Move on, mate.
And it is this. This is ongoing. We still don't know what the event dates are. We don't know the length of the waiting periods, T-Bone. So there's a lot of events. Usually the waiting periods this season have been anywhere from, I think, 8 days to 12 days, something like that. I wonder if they're going to keep the waiting periods in that, let's say, average 10-day waiting time. I think you kind of need to do that.
They might even reduce it with the non-elimination heats going. So you never know.
I thought about that, and I almost hope they don't. To give them more time to get really good waves. There was a lot of opportunities there, and sometimes they have to squeeze the events, to get surf. The other one is the heat structure, like I talked about before. We don't know what the brackets are. We don't know how they're going to handle wild cards, but in those numbers, 36 and 24 for the men and women starting, that includes 2 wild cards. So there will be a wild card structure. We don't know how it's going to be determined. And all of this we will follow up on. We'll have another video on this topic. But the other one that's important to a lot of us that play fantasy is, how is fantasy going to work? How are they going to score? And I like the fact that you set it and forget it on your team and you don't have to overthink it. How many times have we changed our teams, T-Bone, in the reselects? But
I reckon there shouldn't be any reselects. Set it and forget it. I reckon that's the best way to go.
Yeah, and look at matchups. Hopefully we'll be able to look at the matchups and figure out, okay, here's the scenarios, and then make our picks. That's going to make fantasy easier. I just don't know if they're going to give extra points for the postseason and all this kind of thing. So I'm really curious. And like now, the finals, I've separated my fantasy league. It's just based on regular season. By the way, you can join our fantasy league. Go to oldsurfdad.com. It closes after Margaret River. It closes. That's our cut off my fantasy league. No one else can join. So if you're interested, jump in there. But
Hey, Dave, give the Instagram a plug too. Current Surf Show.
oh, dude, T-Bone is holding it down. I can't believe I haven't mentioned that yet. Good job over there. We now have a current Instagram account. We're starting to pump out the content. That's
Just
all
little short
T-Bone.
videos, eh?
There's some short videos I put out, and yeah, we're just starting to get into it. So follow us at Current Surf Show on Instagram, and also on the Currents Surf Show / the Old Surf Dad YouTube channel. I'm starting to put up shorts and those types of videos, and hope that you guys can come in there and give us a subscribe if you like this kind of stuff. We love talking surf, and we love for you to join us. T-Bone, final thoughts.
Mate, no, overall, double thumbs up on the news for 2026. Love the regular season, postseason. Love the idea we're going back to pipe. So, yeah, Stoke, 50 years, unbelievable. 50 years, mate. So thank to the GOAT for the birth of professional
get in
surfing.
there?
The birth of the GOAT.
I'm going to thank Ryan Crosby, and I'm going to end this show with thanks for watching, and here it is, your moment of Stoke. You. And then we jump into a little video, and I think this video, T-Bone, will probably be like, I'll probably do a little old school vintage pipeline vibe for
That'd
the
be
moment
sick.
of Stoke.
That'd be
Something
sick.
like that. I thought
Derek
about having a Peter
Code.
Townend.
Oh, okay.
I could do a Derek. I thought about doing Peter Townend, like surfing the 1976, but there's not a lot to pull from. But
Yep.
definitely like, or the other one I thought about, what about this? If it was Clyde Icao surfing and saying rest in peace.
That'd be cool, mate.
Maybe I do a pipe and then at the very end, Clyde Icao, rest in peace. That's what I think I'll do.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be very cool.
Something like that.